In the narrow, cluttered streets of North Philadelphia, hope often seemed like a distant beacon to the inhabitants. For Tyrese Jackson, a lanky, determined young boy, making it out of poverty was a dream he clung to with fierce tenacity. Born into a world where his father had gone to prison before his birth, and where his mother, Ronnie, juggled multiple jobs to make ends meet, Tyrese grew up in an environment fraught with challenges. From a young age, Tyrese knew that his family's survival rested on his shoulders. He saw the toil etched into his mother's face, the weariness in her steps, and vowed to be the protector and provider she needed. With his father serving a life sentence for murder, a tragic incident sparked by a mere glance exchanged outside a fast food joint, Tyrese grappled with the legacy of violence that shadowed his family. At 14, desperate to ease his mother's burdens, Tyrese fell in with the wrong crowd and started committing muggings. The thrill of quick money came at a steep price, but necessity had clouded his judgment. As he handed over his ill-gotten cash to his mother, he told her it was from odd jobs, though the guilt gnawed at him. By 16, Tyrese's luck ran out. Caught in the act of an unarmed robbery, he was charged as an adult and sentenced to 2 years in an adult detention center. The time within those walls was unforgiving and harsh. Frequent fights with grown men honed his fists into weapons, and Tyrese soon learned to stand his ground. It was in those hostile confrontations that he realized his burgeoning talent for combat. In those desperate times, Tyrese found inspiration in a figure he had long idolized, Bernard Hopkins, or B-Hop as he was known in the boxing world. Hopkins had once been a criminal, but turned his life around, becoming a champion boxer. That path seemed like the flicker of hope Tyrese needed. If Hopkins could transform his life through boxing, then perhaps Tyrese could do the same. Upon his release, he sought out any opportunity to channel his newfound strength and skill into a disciplined form of fighting. He joined a boxing gym, pouring every ounce of his determination into training. Sparring with grown men, Tyrese's prowess quickly caught the eye of local trainers. His fists were not only powerful but also precise, reminiscent of a young Hopkins. Despite the grueling training sessions and the exhaustion that came with it, Tyrese never lost sight of his goal: to lift his mother and 2 younger sisters out of the ghetto. Ronnie noticed the bruises, the cuts, but more than anything, she noticed the fire in her son's eyes. Tyrese was no longer the scared boy trying to make ends meet through petty crime. He was a young man with a purpose, with a vision of a better life. Tyrese's talent didn't go unnoticed. A promoter, impressed by his raw talent and dedication, offered him a chance at a professional fight. The transition from amateur to professional was swift, and Tyrese embraced it with a relentless drive. Through soul-crushing workouts, he pushed himself to the limit, often shadowboxing late into the night when his neighborhood was silent and asleep. In the summer of his 18th year, Tyrese got his first professional break. Stepping into the ring as a professional boxer, his debut fight was against a seasoned fighter who underestimated the young rookie. The bout was brutal, the air thick with tension as his fists flew and sweat poured. But Tyrese's hunger for victory, his need to defy the odds, stacked against him, propelled him forward. With a powerful uppercut, he secured a knockout, marking the beginning of his rise in the boxing world. With each win, Tyrese's reputation grew, and so did his earnings. His victories were a lifeline, each one bringing his family closer to escaping the clutches of poverty. But with success came new threats. The underbelly of the boxing world was fraught with corruption and greed, and soon the mob came calling. Tyrese, now a contender for the championship title, faced pressure from shadowy figures who demanded he throw the fight. It was an ultimatum that weighed heavily on him. The thought of dishonoring the sport he loved disgusted him, but the threat to his family's safety was even more unbearable. In the days leading up to the championship fight, Tyrese wrestled with his conscience. He trained harder than ever, trying to find peace in the rhythm of his punches, seeking solace in the familiar pain of sore muscles and bruised knuckles. His coach, an old-school fighter who had seen the darkest sides of boxing, sensed something amiss. "Tyrese, you gotta keep your head clear," his coach warned. "Don't let anything distract you from what you worked so hard for." The night of the championship fight arrived, the atmosphere buzzing with anticipation. Tyrese's opponent was a formidable foe, with a reputation for ruthless precision. As the match began, every punch thrown, every duck and weave, every cheer from the crowd faded into a blur. Tyrese fought not just for the title, but for his mother, his sisters, and the promise of a future free from fear. In the final rounds, battered and bloodied, Tyrese found himself on the ropes. The mob's threats echoed in his mind, but then he thought of his mother's sacrifices, the dreams of his sisters, and the legacy he wanted to leave. Drawing strength from a place deep within, he launched a flurry of vicious blows to the body, to the head and back to the body, culminating into a body-bending liver shot. With a delayed reaction, the champ went down on one knee. With defeat in his eyes, he could not muster up the strength to stand as the referee counted. Tyrese, standing in a neutral corner, exhausted, taking deep breaths, with every number counted, seemed to get a burst of energy as he jumped for joy when his foe could not return to his feet, securing his victory as the new champion. As the crowd erupted in applause, Tyrese's joy was overshadowed by a sense of impending doom. The mob's warning was not an empty threat. Leaving the ring, he found himself cornered by men whose smiles hinted at violence. "You had one job, kid," one of them muttered, shaking his head. Later, Tyrese thought that he could slip out of the side door of the event center and not be noticed, but from out of nowhere, they pounced. That dark alley behind the stadium became the final stage of Tyrese's fight. Despite his fierce resistance, the young champion was overwhelmed. As the shadows lengthened, the brutal sounds of violence filled the desolate space. In the aftermath, Tyrese's body, broken but defiant, was left as a stark reminder of the price of defiance. News of his tragic end spread quickly. The boxing community mourned, but it was his family who felt the deepest loss. Yet, Tyrese's story didn't end in that alley. The legacy he forged through blood, sweat, and determination inspired countless young fighters in the ghettos of Philadelphia. His name became synonymous with defiance against oppression, a symbol of hope that transcended the boundaries of his short life. As the sun set over the streets of North Philadelphia, Ronnie Jackson stood by the small memorial erected in her son's honor. With tears in her eyes but pride in her heart, she whispered, "You fought well, Tyrese. You fought for us all." Tyrese's dream of lifting his family out of poverty has sparked a movement, ensuring that his fight, his legacy, would live on in the hearts of those who dared to dream against the odds. If you like these short stories, please leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell to be in the loop when we release a new video. We greatly appreciate your support.